Hi guys, good morning. Coming up to midday on the 15th of September. Just a reminder, with the FOMC tomorrow, we'll be live on YouTube. Got the pound here. UK House of Commons passed the internal market bill last night. Bit of a relief push higher this morning, but still contained. So it's not a an opportunity, I would say, just to buy and hold just yet. I think there's still some confirmation needed that this could potentially be a bottom. So looking at the levels, and these are the ones that I had on from last night, I think you would want to see a decent close above, 129.28. We're almost coming to reach that now. Back above there and above 130 would be where I'd say, okay, well now I feel a bit more comfortable about saying that we found a bit of a bottom. The lows, I wouldn't necessarily have this trend line on. You can see the one we had on yesterday that sort of gave way overnight, but the push down came in early hours, so I'm not really sure people could have taken advantage of that. Bit of a line in the sand then to the downside. I probably would still have 128.72 and let the market tell me what's going on. So back above 129.28, I feel a bit more comfortable. Bit risk on, bit dollar weakness, bit pound strength. We can push on, whereas below there, I'd say it's not looking too rosy, and the low of the day would likely then come in sort of just above that 128 handle. But at the moment, it seems okay for the pound, but big resistance coming up literally right now. Elsewhere, oil broke through. You remember we had this up yesterday. Didn't want to come down to the bottom part today and push lower, and instead it sort of popped to the upside. And this is what we were saying about that whole short squeeze. Anyone short doesn't necessarily want to be holding that position if it breaks this trend, and you can see that's pushed on and taken out these targets relatively quickly. Actually, the high from the 11th has acted as support. That could be a good little area to have marked up, along with the R1, you would say, for an area where the bulls will want to defend if we do get a retracement. It wouldn't be all too surprising now to see over the coming days for us to get back up towards that 38.50. You can see the low that we had on the 6th turned into the high on the 9th. X marks the spot there. Quick look at euro before we go to equities. You can see euro just over the last hour or so been pushing to the upside. Again, that trend line on the lows sort of still intact overnight. You can see the pound where it broke. You also saw a bit of dollar strength against the euro, but only for it to snap back. So I'd still have that on as a decent guide. You've also got this whole area from the high of the 11th. It was choppy yesterday, but you can see that sort of marks up with that trend line as well, and the 119 handle in the futures. For me, that's kind of the point, at least for today before the FOMC, where I'd have it as a guide. As long as we're above that, I'll be looking for opportunities to buy back up towards the ECB high. S&P, let's have a quick look. It's gradually, well, we're 2 points away from that 34 handle. It's gradually getting there. However, obviously those main resistance levels that we talked about from yesterday, the double top from the 9th and the 10th, and also the 4th and the 8th as well. So those will be two stumbling blocks it's got to get through. We'd also have a trend line on from the low of sort of 10 o'clock yesterday. You can see that's guided quite nicely, as with quite a few risk assets that we've seen both in the euro and the pound there. So if we were bearish cash open, get below the trend line, that's when I'd see a bit of an unwind, and then you can start looking towards the pivot level and the low of 10 a.m. yesterday, 33.55. But at the moment it looks pretty good, and as long as we stay above the high of yesterday, our close after cash open, you feel pretty comfortable in seeing this push to the upside. The Nasdaq looks pretty much the same, as does Dow Jones, although maybe Dow Jones is trying to extend above those highs, so really keep a close watch on that. Quick look over at gold. You can see that as well, continuing that break from yesterday that we sort of had marked up here on that 15-minute. Decent push to the upside, and that's really continued since then, and those previous highs have acted as good support. Testing the high of the day now, so you'll want to keep a watch on that, whether it can continue to push on and really come to these levels that we haven't seen since the beginning of the month.